Hello there, and welcome to Unlock the Door Radio. This is your host, Michael Cross, here with what I hope will be a very interesting segment for you this evening. And like I said, I introduce all of my programs this way, and that is we try to go by the motto that Benjamin Franklin came up with, and that is, true patriot is willing to question authority at any time whatsoever. And so let's just jump in there. Oh, by the way, just want to encourage people here. Go to my Facebook page, Unlock the Door Radio, hit like, also subscribe to my YouTube channel at Michael Cross. That ensures that whenever I put something up that's interesting interview, then you'll be the first to know. Anyway, tonight we are going to have a very special guest. She is, a Wicca, a pagan. I'll say that. She's a pagan, and I know that's conjuring up all kinds of interesting sights in people's minds. You probably get everything from like some horror movie to these images that are often portrayed by Hollywood of what pagans must be. Well, we're gonna ask someone who is a pagan if that's all true or not. And so tonight we're going to welcome Kelly to our show. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on. Now, I just want to say this before we get into, and tonight's show will deal with everything from rituals to symbols, nudity, whatever, and even solar energy. We're going to deal with everything, surveillance state, war, all kinds of stuff. But what I just wanted to say before I turn this over to Kelly is that today we seem to isolate from one another, and that might help the system, because if the people that have the power are able to divide us all according to our religion, Catholic versus Protestant versus Mormon versus Jew versus Muslim versus pagan versus atheist, whatever, then that benefits them, because everyone will just retreat into their ideology and see the world as an us versus them, when they're not noticing what the government and the corporations are doing out there that really takes their rights away. Let me just ask, Kelly, just right off the bat, you as a pagan, are you out there trying to take the rights away from people to express themselves and to develop their individuality? Do you want to set up some sort of pagan dictatorship?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I don't want any dictatorship. I would like to just see everybody just play nice. Why can't we just all play nice? What's wrong with playing nice? And most people, I think, really want to play nice. I think it's the big governments and the greed. If we could just do without the greed.
Uh-huh. So basically, the thing I want to touch on first is a lot of people get this image of people out in a forest with some sort of black metal music playing in the black background and sacrificing anything from a cat to a kid on an altar or something like that. I mean, you'll get that image if you listen to some radio talk shows and stuff, especially from the 80s.
Even the TV shows.
You go in and tell me exactly. This must irritate you, doesn't it?
It's a very superficial representation. It isn't even close to reality. Yet there may be pagans that go out in the forest and they might like black metal music. Whatever makes your spirits free, that's fine. But there's no sacrificing that I know of. If there is, it ain't in the groups that I've ever been involved with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The most, I mean, this sounds controversial to people, but the most I've ever seen, depicted in, real things. Like, I'm just going to jump right in. You look at Beltane. And if you look at Beltane and Scotland, they have some pretty big Beltane festivals. Probably most Americans have no clue what Beltane is, and many Europeans don't either because it's been changed to like Valborg and stuff like that. They need
May Day.
Huh?
May Day.
Yeah. Okay, tell me about
May Day and the Maypole. That all came from Beltane.
Mm-hmm.
Beltane is May 1st, and it's the welcoming of new birth, new life, springtime.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, this had to do with fertility and things like that.
It did. And I'm sure there was probably a time when they thought that, well, if you go back in history when they didn't have we didn't have furnaces in our house. A lot of people died over the winter. Having a baby in the fall was not a smart idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because that newborn had to survive through the winter months. A lot of people, May 1st, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. Then your baby's born around February. You got a better chance. It's starting to warm up. Baby's going to be all summer long. It probably became a ritual fertility thing to, let's make babies in the springtime, or make babies in the spring and have them, before the next summer comes, so they have the whole summer to get strong and healthy and have a better survival rate.
Mm-hmm.
That to me would make sense. I don't know if that's true, but it kind of makes sense.
Well, Americans seem, not just Americans, but I'm just going to pick on Americans here. Americans seem to equate nudity and things like that with debauchery and pornography and orgies and things like that. And I've noticed that if you look at the YouTube videos of Beltane, there's a lot of nudity. There's a lot of people dancing around naked and stuff like that. Now, probably lots of people will be going to, finding out what Beltane's all about. But tell me, what is the difference between the way that pagans see such things as nudity and the way that society presents it?
Well, the society, it's all about sex. And I think from a pagan viewpoint, if you come before your Creator naked, there's nothing between you and the Creator. If you come before your Creator loaded down with fur coats and diamonds and jewelry and all this material stuff, obviously your mind is wrapped up in the material world. But if you come before the Creator naked, you're not only exposing your body, it's all of your faults. It's all of your spiritual faults. You are now totally naked in every sense before your Creator. There's nothing man-made. There's nothing in between you. It's like opening your soul to the Creator in being naked. It's not about sex. I'm sure that there are some that, there are people, I have no doubt there are people, let's form a coven so we can have orgies. No doubt. No doubt there are probably people out there like that. People misuse everything. Why wouldn't they misuse this too?
Mm-hmm. In America, though, you say there's a spirituality involved in the nudity. And in America, it seems that, first of all, you see all of these articles about, like, this last year. I went to school in the 1970s. And dress codes, for instance, usually dealt with such things as, well, you couldn't come to school wearing something that was see-through or something. They were very lax. You could come to school wearing cut off. The big thing that was big for men and women was to take jeans and cut them off, high up on the thighs and stuff. And that was considered okay. And now we have situations where they have rulers in the office and they measure how much shoulder is showing and things like that. And there's all these, Facebook and things. You can't show nursing mothers and so forth.
Yeah. I think that's all about control.
Yeah.
Somebody, if you want to call it the Illuminati or you want to call it the powers that be or whatever, somebody is behind the curtain. And they just keep doing all of this stuff. It's about control. It's about getting every little thing let's find every little thing that we can that everybody else can pick on.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of propping people up and helping each other. It's like, oh, well, let's see what we can pick on this person, and let's see what that person's doing that we can find fault with, and let's go over here and find fault with this, and let's control oh, you can't do that. Oh, now you have to pay to do that. You have to get a license to do that. You have to get a permit for this. It's like you can't even, like you were saying earlier, you can't even have a windmill in your yard, and they're going to want to tax you for it.
Yeah.
Over here, we got people that are trying to build homes that are ecologically friendly. This one gentleman builds these homes that nothing comes onto the property and nothing leaves. There's no electrical wires coming in. There's no sewers going out. Everything is taken care of right on the property. And no, they don't want to allow that because, oh my God, you've got sewage water going through your living room. Well, it's not sewage water. By the time it gets to the living room, there's plants in the living room, and it's a hydroponic system.
Mm-hmm.
It's all filtered and cleaned out right on the property. But we're so behind the times, and we're so wrapped up with rules and regulations, and God forbid if we do away with any one of them, because somebody will be out of a job.
Yeah, I think there's a lot.
There will be somebody that won't come and collect that tax.
That's right.
You
I
won't
think
have
there's
you
probably
won't have a job anymore.
There's probably a lot of libertarians and even Republicans that are sitting there going, "Hey, wait a minute, I like this gal. She's talking my language here," and all this, and it gets into the idea if we're all divided, we don't see our similarities, and therefore we get exploited.
Exactly. And if you look at the financial situation, what does it say? The top 1% own something like 80% of the finances?
Yeah, and they control more than that, obviously. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's just so wrong. That is just so wrong that nobody, it's insane. It's insane that you've got CEOs that are making the figures that they're making to sit on a desk and delegate. That's all they do is they delegate. You go do this, you go do that, you go do this. And they're a figurehead, and they're making all this money. The people in politics, oh my God, are you serious? The money they make? But how about sports figures?
Yeah,
I mean, since when is chasing a ball around a field worth multi-millions of dollars and contracts and TV? The population is, I swear, they're like a bunch of sheep. Turn on a commercial and let them watch this. Let's go check out and try this new beer. Instead of what's going on in the government, what's going on behind the curtain, who's pulling all these strings, and we're losing our freedoms by the minute.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And then everybody's talking about it, but the bottom line is, what do we do about it? I'm 62 years old. What am I going to do? I'm handicapped. What can I do? I can't even go march.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't last out there now, or I'd be on the pavement.
Well, you'd be on the pavement because if you go out there and march, you're probably going to get met by some stormtroopers in the United States now.
Well, where I live, it's like 105 degrees, so I wouldn't last out there very long before I'd have heat stroke. But I'm just, how do we do this without a civil war?
Well, hopefully it's not going to come to that, but
I don't want to see it come to that either, but I'm worried about that. I'm worried about the finances. I'm worried about the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
If the dollar bottoms out and isn't worth anything anymore, there's going to be a period of time where nobody's going to know what the heck to do. Runs on the stores, the gas stations will shut down. What if the power grid goes down? We're so dependent on the way they have us set up now, and they've got so that they're arresting people for having gardens in their yard. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You have HOAs that, you can't paint your house a certain color. Well, all right, fine. I might not want a pink and yellow polka dot house next door either. But a garden in their backyard, even if they have a garden in their front yard, what's the problem if they're taking care of it and it's tended?
Well, I'll say this.
I don't understand. They're putting us in a position where we have to be dependent on the system, and then they can just shut the system off any minute they please.
Mm-hmm. Well,
all of our jobs are being shipped out of our country.
Mm-hmm. Well,
buy American. What's made in America anymore?
Yeah, I was just going to say this: that I live outside the United States, even though the radio show's through New York. I use that wonderful technology associated with globalization. But I live outside the United States, and it gives you a perspective because then you start seeing. If you want to get news about American politics, you have to turn to the British press because the American press doesn't talk about it.
No, they don't.
If you want to find out about what's going on with the surveillance state, you have to go and read it, like in the Guardian and some of these other newspapers. You don't find it in America. And if you do find it in America, oh my gosh, I mean, I think anyone that's living outside of America right now, or anyone who has lived outside of America and watched news programs from other countries will realize that it's all glitz. It's nothing in America. It's like they're talking to 5-year-olds. Hello, everyone. We're telling you what to think. I mean, it's.
Oh yes, look what Paris Hilton's doing today.
Oh yeah. Let's everything right now. Oh, the World Cup and Brazil and look, some guys kicking a soccer ball at the same time. The United States is, if not mostly, at least considerably responsible for the mess in Ukraine right now. Iraq is turning into a giant civil war that could have regional implications. I mean, the United States right now is probably getting there thinking, oh my gosh, Iran is the only thing that's going to prevent total chaos in the Middle East. I mean, talk about the irony.
It's scary.
Yeah, I mean, you've got all these things going on, but yet everyone's worried about who kicked a ball, or they're worried about, is this movie star going out with him or her or whatever? I mean, but I don't think I seriously don't think that it can be totally coincidental.
No, it goes back to the people behind the curtain.
Well, I have to say this.
You know, they start the wars. They set these wars up, and the president, the poor president. I mean, I kind of feel sorry for him because he's just a figurehead, and people say, oh, the American people or the Muslims or the blacks, or they want to point their finger at a group, and you can't do that. It ain't the group. It's not the average American person. It's not the average black person. It's not the average Muslim. It's the leaders. It's the greedy people in power. Those are the ones that keep moving us around like little pawns. And because we're in the position we're in, we have no choice.
Yeah, and I have to say this, when you're reading
if I say I'm going to rebel against this and I'm not going to pay my taxes because I don't believe in what my government is doing, I go to jail. Nobody even knows about it.
No, and it won't
because you're right.
It won't be
Our
reported.
papers don't report nothing. They're owned by the people behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm. Well, I look at it this way. You got this thing.
We say that all of our newspapers and all of our TV channels are owned by 5 corporations. 5. And I bet if you trace those 5 back, they'll probably go back to 1 or 2.
Yeah. If you go back to who owns them when it comes to finances.
This corporation owns that corporation, owns another corporation, owns another corporation. Yeah, but it's all back to the same people behind the curtain.
Well, I look at it this way. You've got a situation where, I was looking at all these things about, some school district here, and I go back to that original point there. Some school district airbrushes someone's tattoo off, even though it's like microscopic on her chest or something, and or they put sleeves on people, or they send girls home. I saw an article recently. A girl's mother got so mad about the fact that her daughter was sent home on graduation day because of her dress. She said she was going to wear it she would wear it for the official graduation where the parents came. It sounds like she's going to make a good point there, staying up for her daughter. And, it wasn't like she came to school topless or something. It was actually it was not an immodest dress. But the thing is, I wonder about this. I mean, if you know something about behaviorism and the way you could set systems up, why is it? And I deal with this in my fictional book series, Freedom from Conscience. A young woman who's kind of a victim of this conformity and so forth. But you go to a school in a high school, public high school in Maine or probably Arizona, Hawaii, Oregon, it doesn't matter. You have the same cliques. You have the same social structure. It's like you step in from one to another. It's the same system. And I have a hard time believing that is all just coincidental, that's the best. And that's exactly how it would just be. There has to be some sort of behavioral model that goes into it that is designed, like you said, to control people.
Yeah, really. It's just like the little 5 or 6 year old that gets suspended from school because he kissed one of his little girl classmates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's 5 years old, for crying out loud.
Yeah, you wouldn't have that in other countries.
Little kids are huggy, kissy, and touchy, and what's wrong with that? It's not like he was 25 and the little girl was 5.
Mm-hmm.
You know? We have a law here.
You get sent home
I don't
because
know
you have a candy that, or something, or you're sent home because, and you know what? If you look underneath the comments when these news stories come out, most of the people will side with the 5-year-old. Yeah. But you always have a certain element that's saying school is about learning how to follow the rules. And I'm like, what? I thought school was about learning.
But when they're 5 years old, they don't yet know what rules are. And they've come from a family probably where mom and dad and sisters and brothers hugged and kissed each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when grandma came to visit and aunts and uncles and cousins, they hugged and kissed each other. It was a way of saying, hi, how are you? I missed you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be about sex. Look at the Italians when they meet. You see 2 men kiss one cheek and then the other.
Mm-hmm.
In our country, that would be so gay.
Hey, when I was in Uganda, a few months ago, and I mean it's had a lot of press because of its laws against male homosexuals and stuff. But it was actually quite common to see young men, holding hands. That was not considered.
Oh, I have a whole big philosophy on the homosexual. I am a lesbian, and I'll tell you what my thought on that is. When they want to throw the Bible at me, and on the lesbian scene, I want to sit there and say, look, I've read the Bible from cover to cover. Okay. Taken aside who put the Bible together, okay, let's just take what's in there. Originally, it was an abomination to eat meat after the 3rd day. It's in there. It says it's an abomination to eat it after the 3rd day. It's an abomination to eat meat of the hoven-clipped animal. So we shouldn't be saving meat in our freezers? Of course not. That rule was written at a time when we didn't have fridges and people didn't know health. And they weren't health safety conscious. They didn't know about trichinosis that you can get from pork. So they were told, just don't eat that stuff because you don't know how to fix it. Mm-hmm. Basically, that's what it boiled down to. You don't know how to prepare it. You don't know how to keep it. You can't preserve it. So just don't eat it. Well, now we know better. Well, think about when they said it was wrong to sleep for same sex to sleep together. Man shall not lie with a man as he lies with a woman. It is an abomination. There's that word again. Okay? That was given at a time when the Lord said, go forth and multiply and replenish the earth. And it was given again when it was go forth, multiply, and replenish the earth. Well, the first time it was build up the earth. The second time it was replenish it after the flood. That was not a good time for homosexuality to be prevalent.
No, but
because humanity would not have survived.
Well, there's also another point, too, that like you said you're a lesbian, but the thing is that the Bible, for some reason, doesn't condemn that. And I've always wondered because I've had an anthropologist on a couple times.
Well, it kind of does.
Polygamy.
It kind of does. It says a woman shall not wear men's clothing.
Yeah, on something like that.
And it kind of insinuates it without coming out and saying it. But the point is, it was given at a time when Earth, humanity was in desperate condition of becoming extinct. So having a lot of homosexuals around then was not a good thing.
No.
Any more than eating the bad meat was not a good thing. You're going to die, and, we need the population right now. Go make babies. Well, now we've got how many billion people on this planet? Do you think now the Lord cares? We don't need to replenish the earth or repopulate it. We've got plenty of people as it is. And how about all those children out there that nobody wants, that these lesbian couples and gay men couples are adopting, that would otherwise be homeless?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these
Christians want to put them down. Would you rather that child living in the social services for the rest of its life, or would you rather have a secure home with 2 parents, be they same sex or different?
Yeah.
Ask the kids which they would have preferred. Ask these kids that are growing up in these families, and 90% of them don't grow up gay, just because the parents were. And hey, wait a minute now, didn't gay kids come from straight parents? What happened there?
Yeah, we've had some shows on about this in reference to artificial insemination and lesbians, and also an anthropologist that was talking about polygamy, saying that that in polygamous situations you do have you do actually find relationships between the women, but and maybe in the Bible, when you had 60 wives or something, you didn't care what they were doing when it wasn't their night or something.
Probably.
so it's not mentioned. It's not even mentioned in the Bible. I want to go on here real quick and go back, just real quick, go back to that one thing. It seems that American culture is, if they do see someone out, was it springtime when you could have people out worshiping nature and they're naked and stuff like that? They see that, or Beltane, they see that as like, oh my gosh, there's evil stuff going on. But doesn't America produce most of the porn in the world? So we have this like, oh, we got to repress people. You got to have laws. I think in Wisconsin it's a felony, even if you're caught out in the middle of the woods naked. I mean, even if you're out in the freaking middle of nowhere and someone just happens upon you, a game warden finds you, deep in the woods, you can have a felony charge. Heaven forbid if like you work with kids or something, because you'll never work with kids again.
Yeah, really.
And in like Florida, you can wind up on a sex registry if you're caught urinating a certain distance away from a schoolyard. I know why they have that rule, but what if it's like midnight and some poor homeless guy, he needs to use.
You just gotta go. You gotta go, right?
Yeah, and then the police catch him, and he can wind up on a sex offender registry or something like that. But it's like if you show a woman topless and it's to sell a magazine, whether it's a gossip magazine, oh my gosh, this movie star was in Rio and she was topless or something like that on the beach, or if it's a porn or something like that, it makes money. But if it's some poor hippie or something out swimming in the middle of nowhere, or it's someone celebrating Beltane or whatever, that's immoral. I mean, if a corporation does it, it's legitimate. If a giant corporation lets you rent porn movies through their hotel, and you pay whatever it is to watch it, that's legitimate because it's making money. That seems to be the American ethos today.
The only difference I can see in those two, though, is the pornography in the hotel room is usually an adult.
Yes.
You usually have to be of a certain age to get your hands on this pornography, unless you find it under your dad's mattress or something. You can't. A child can't just go in the store and see this. Where I suppose the child could be playing in the woods and happen upon whatever happened to be going on, and that might not be a good thing for the child. It could be, a child not understanding, that wasn't raised in the craft, that has no clue what's going on, and walks out there and sees a coven full of women dancing naked around a fire, or a tree, or hugging a tree naked, or just sprawled out on the ground naked. Might not quite understand what's going on.
Yeah, but
unless if they were raised in the craft, though, or if they were even raised to understand the craft, if more information was out there on paganism, so that children would understand that they're just worshiping. Mm-hmm. That's the way they choose to worship. But we're taught to cover up right quick. I think the Puritan umbrella is still hanging over this country, heavy duty. Don't show nothing. Don't keep it covered. Don't let anybody see anything. Yeah, we tried to rebel against that since the 60s, when we had the hippies and free love and all of that. We started wearing mini skirts and two-piece bikini bathing suits, and it's gotten a lot more free. But there's a few nude beaches, but it's just the average person is so uptight in this country when it comes to the human body.
Which then would, if anyone that gets into Freud, you would understand that if something's repressed, it comes out in other ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which may explain
sooner or
why
later
so many Americans are consumed with, porn and things like that. Or sex is used to sell everything on TV. I mean, come on, car.
Oh, I know, it's crazy.
But let's get on here. I want to talk a little bit more about paganism here. But the one thing, though, I want to clear up is, isn't it true that I was talking to someone who is Wiccan, and she said that they have to do various rituals and stuff privately. They cannot belong to a group until they reach 18. So
well, because we have laws in this country. I'm not exactly sure what the laws are, because I just stay away from minors. So I don't have to worry about it. But I couple covens I have belonged to made that comment that, you couldn't be under 18 years old unless you have your parents' permission, because I think parents can turn around and sue you for trying to corrupt the morals of their child.
Right. Right.
So if the child is under the age of 18, they're under the age of consent. So without permission from a parent, no, we don't. They don't. Most covens will not allow children at all, unless their parents are involved. Like, if their mom is in the coven and she wants to bring the children, she's their mom.
Right. Right. That makes perfect sense. Hey, now let's jump into this before we get into the politics and all that kind of stuff. The symbols. I mean, often when you see symbols like a pentagram, I mean, you see, it seems for some reason to be associated with Satan worship. And could you clear that up a little bit?
Well, most of the pagans that I've been involved with don't even believe in Satan. Satan is a Christian creation. The Bible came from the Sumerian history. It was put together by the Nicene Council, who were very much into control and greed and power. And I believe myself that the whole hell scenario and Satan was something that they threw in there to scare everybody and to keep everybody in line. Pagans that I know don't believe in hell. We don't believe in Satan. We believe in reincarnation. This is like school. You don't get it right the first time, you come back and do it again. You choose what you want to learn. And when you get back to the other side, you watch your own little movie of your life, and nobody's going to judge you harder than you are, because on the other side, you're perfect. So when you look at all the screw-ups that you've had in this lifetime, you're the one that's going to say, I need to go back and do that again. Mm-hmm. It has got nothing to do with God judging you. God's part in this was giving you free will. He said to you, are you sure you want to go do this? And we said, oh, yeah, we want to do, let me try this, and I want to learn that. And he said, you're taking on a lot. You sure you want to do all that? Oh, yeah, I can do it. And we get down here and realize how hard it is. Some of us decide to check out early and take suicide. Others of us hang in till the bitter end. My thought on suicide, you check out, you got to come back and start all over again. That's like quitting school in the middle of third grade. Mm-hmm. Now you got to start over, because first grade, now they're teaching all kinds of new stuff. So you got to come back and do it again. Better to stick it out and finish this grade and see, well, gee, I didn't do so bad here. Oh, I did terrible there. You're going to be your own worst judge. So then you choose to come back. The part that God played was he signed the contract. Mm-hmm. Okay, I will not interfere. This is what you want to do. This is your free will. You're choosing to go down to this planet, to live this human life, to learn these experiences. It's your choice, right? Oh, yeah, it's my choice. He steps back, and it's on us now.
Yeah,
it's on us now. Yeah. When we get back over there, we'll say, oh, geez, Lord, I really messed up. I didn't do this right, and I didn't do that right. Can I go back and do it again? It ain't going to be him saying, oh, you go to hell because you messed up on this one little lifetime that's a grain of sand in his existence. Mm-hmm. Get real.
Hey, could you
sense.
Yeah, that's actually quite interesting there in that sense. I want to get back to that, but the symbols, for instance, if you go on the internet, you find things. I mean, if you type in pentagram or something, you'll find sites that'll be like, oh, the Mormons are satanic because a lot of the temples have pentagrams decorating them, or the Masons must be satanic because they have pentagrams, or the Wiccans or whatever have pentagrams. And if you go back and look at some of the old churches in Europe, the cathedrals and stuff, they have pentagrams too. I mean, this is a symbol that seems to be very common, has a really strong religious or esoteric meaning to it. And I think the Knights Templar, they had pentagrams often on their outfits or their shields.
I think a lot of them were pagans before they became Christians. During a time when you became a Christian or you die.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to admit that they're still pagans, but they're going to put their symbols everywhere. And at that point in time, the Christian church probably didn't recognize that symbol just yet as being the symbol of the pagans. Upside down pentacle, to my understanding, are the Satan-worshipping pagans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I don't
even go there.
I think it was supposed to be, at least according to folklore, Solomon who used the pentagram to control certain entities to help him build the temple. At least that was the folklore during, 2,000 years ago, and stuff like that. So it seems to me it's actually it's actually not something that should conjure up Satan walking through the door or something like that.
No, the 5 points of the star are earth, wind, air, fire, and spirit. That's what they represent. They don't represent anything satanic, and they represent the energies of those elements.
Okay, so if you have a star, if you have a pentagram upside up on whether it's a tattoo or a necklace or something like that, you're not a member of the Illuminati then.
If it's right side up, probably not.
Okay. The
upside down is questionable. Rumor has it that they are Satanists, that is their symbol. It is upside down pentacle.
Okay.
I have not seen it for myself. I can't testify to that fact, but rumor has it.
Okay.
Rumor has it pretty strongly.
Okay. One last thing dealing with religion is it seems that Wiccans and pagans put more emphasis on the female deity.
Female is the creator of life. She's the one that carries life into fruition.
Mm-hmm. So this would be like God.
It's almost like God gives the command, and the goddess is the one that makes it happen.
Okay, so the goddess would be God's wife. I mean, there are references.
Yes.
Okay.
And even the Mormon Church, they don't voice this loudly, and it's not a well-known thing to non-Mormons, but even the Mormon Church recognizes that God has a wife.
Mm-hmm. It's
their philosophy about God's wife, and the reason that they do not talk about God's wife, this is what they told me. I was in the Mormon Church for 5 years. They told me the reason they don't talk about God's wife is because it's a way of protecting her. You protect her sanctity, you protect who she is by not blabbing her all out there to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that makes a certain sense, but it's also...
It does, but then it's almost like, well, then in a sense you're putting her in the background, and she gets no glory, no honor, no recognition for whatever she does.
Okay.
So what, she just sits back there and waits for him to pay her some attention? And he's also busy with us?
Okay. The other thing, too, it seems to really freak people out, and this goes into the, maybe the image that exists in Western Christianity, or at least Catholicism, is if you mention the idea that Jesus was married, which it makes sense. I mean, he was a rabbi, and it would have been...
Makes absolute sense for him to be married.
If you're a rabbi and you're not married, especially during that time period, that would have been a scandal in and of itself. The Pharisees would have just said, you're single, get out of here. I mean, that would have been... They just dismissed him right off.
Right.
It would have been just right out, okay, you're a single guy and you hang out with a bunch of single guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would have just been, there would have been no point of having the Bible. I mean, it would have just been, go on, get out of here. Just shut the door. Turn the lights out as you go, or whatever. But
well, how could he have possibly experienced everything that a human experienced if he wasn't married?
Yeah, exactly.
He wouldn't know what a nagging wife is like.
Yeah. I don't care if you walk on water. That's, you still do this and this and this. Let's see. You're still there, right? Okay. Let's see. Yeah, you're back there, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I lost you for 1 second. Just 1 second. Now,
marriage would seem just logical. It just doesn't seem logical for him to not to have been married. He could not have experienced anything a married man would have experienced. And we're supposed to be able to go to him with he's supposed to have experienced everything that any human could go through.
Mm-hmm.
It says in the Bible that he knows he has experienced everything that we could experience. Well, if that's true, he had to have been married then.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is,
I would also take it one step further to say that he would have had to experience fatherhood as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and And the thing is, in Western, again, Catholicism. I was just in Rome too, so you get this, like, a lot of people believe that Mary was a virgin and then she never had sex. She just had Jesus and that was it. But yet the Bible lists that Jesus has a bunch of brothers and sisters. So
Yeah.
go figure.
They want to pick and choose what they emphasize.
Yeah, which is, well, we can get a whole show just on those things alone. Now, the thing is, I think most of our listeners would see that you're a reasonable person, you're an educated person, you're not, you don't have some of these stereotypes that people have of someone like dressed in a black cloak and or whatever. And
I deck out big for Halloween. I put my whole costume on. I have the witch's hat, and I have the cloak, and I have the dress. Oh yeah.
Oh, that sounds good.
I do it for Halloween, and I do it for some. I do it on occasion for rituals, but it's a private thing. I'm usually just here with either by myself or with my couple of friends. It's not for show. It's not something I'm out there with everybody saying, "Oh, look at me, I'm a witch." I don't go to the grocery store that way or something.
Mm-hmm. But now the NSA knows you're a witch.
Oh well, they already know it's on my Facebook page.
Yeah,
I'm not hiding it. If they come for witches and lesbians, I'll be the first one to go.
And I'll bet you there's a lot of people that would say, well, yeah, well, whatever, and then you say, well, yeah, guess who's next? The Christians next, and then the this and this and this. It seems like nowadays in America, if you stand outside the system, it's like what George Bush said: you're with us or you're against us.
Exactly.
And you got Bush.
And what I want to know is who the hell is us?
Yeah.
I need to know who the us is first before I decide what side of the line I'm standing on. Yeah,
I mean, do you have to agree with everything the government does or something like that? I mean, the way I look at it is what scares me, what really scares me, is that you essentially, if you're sitting on a computer right now, you could be being filmed. I mean, Edward Snowden pointed that out in his interview, which...
Well, I have a rainbow-colored Band-Aid over the top of my camera so nobody can look in my room.
Yeah, well, they're probably going to turn your cell phone on if they want to.
Well, they can... Oh, my cell phone is boring. I have 2 cell phones, and I probably get 1 call a week on each one of them. And it's usually my children asking me to either pick them up or what do I want at the store.
Okay. Yeah.
They'd be really bored with my life.
But the thing is that I think this is one of those issues that should unify everyone, because we seem to be, I mean, I'm saying we because I'm an American, even though I don't live in the United States at the present time. I do find it interesting that, I've been to Moscow many times. Now, NSA bleeper's probably going beep, beep, beep or something like that. I've been to Beijing. I've been to these places, and you're treated with pretty good. Oh, Italy. I'll say this: Italy, airport security, really friendly, nice, not intrusive. But I can't say the same thing about American airport security, and I can't say the same thing about American cops anymore. I mean,
it's getting bad.
Yeah,
it's like power has gone to everybody's head. I'm a cop. I can do whatever I want now. I'm TSA. I can do whatever I want.
Exactly.
And it seems like they can.
Well, a couple of years ago, a woman, I don't know how it turned out, she just wanted an apology. They made her take her nipple rings out.
I heard about that.
And
I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then you got a situation where they can feel you over and all these other things. And they admit, they've never stopped a terrorist or anything, but yet you go through the airport and there's people terrified. I was talking to a guy. He lives in Canada, and he said that a lot of foreign tourists now are making sure that even though it costs more, you do any kind of plane switching in Canada when you're booking your tickets versus the United States. They don't want to come into the United States anymore because they're scared. They don't want to go and be groped at an airport.
Yeah, I don't blame them.
And I was talking to someone who just recently had visited Canada, and she mentioned that going from Canada into the United States, she was just, I mean, she said it was like something from some of those old 1950s movies showing the guy trying to get out of East Germany, with all the checkpoints and all the questions and stuff like that.
I don't know. I think they're bit by bit taking away every freedom we have until the point where it'll be like old Russia, where you can't even go from one town to another without getting permission.
Yeah. Yeah,
they'll be pulling you over, wanting to know, what are you doing in this county? You're supposed to live in the other county. I don't know. It's getting crazy.
Yeah, and it seems that no matter what the person's religion or their political philosophy, I mean, you could be a total right-wing conservative, but yet you shouldn't discount what someone like Chomsky or Nader are warning about in reference to what's coming.
Yeah, really. There's a lot of people out there warning, and it's like the mass isn't listening. You don't believe it? It can't happen to us? Why not? I mean, Atlantis fell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hey, I just want to ask you this quick question here. Do you believe that Atlantis is actually a metaphor for, or at least some of the ancient history that people still had in reference to what society was like before Noah?
I think Atlantis came a long time before the society that came before Noah.
Okay, so it predated even Noah.
Oh yeah, I think Atlantis was so many thousands of years ago that we can't even, until we find it, we can't even date it right now. But I think it was so prehistory, and we're not the first generation to get where we are.
Mm-hmm.
We're not the first set of humans to get where we are. Just because we have a written history that we can go back just so far, we don't know what existed before then. And I fully believe that every myth came from some reality.
Yeah,
it was stories that were told from generation to generation came from somewhere, and I think they came from a reality in the past that was just passed on by word of mouth. If our grid goes down in this country, we would be set back to the Dark Age, probably before the Dark Ages.
Mm-hmm.
We would become. Our society would fall apart. People would be raiding the stores. They'd be killing each other for food and clothing and whatever they could get until groups could get together to form little organizations. It would be like starting all over again.
So you think it would be like basically the Walking Dead scenario?
Yeah. It would be like starting from scratch, and groups of people would be sticking with their cliques. We would have. It would be like the old Native Americans with 500 nations.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have how many different little groups of people all over the country that would be sticking together for safety's sake, because being alone wouldn't be safe, and then they'd have their own little governments, and then they'd start trading with each other, and eventually we could build back up, but it would take eons.
Well,
what happens?
I'm just thinking
if a meteor hit this planet and wiped them out, and only several human beings were left, and the people that are left don't know how to build computers, don't know any doctoring skills. They don't have any beyond their own schooling. I mean, most people out there, if you get a business person, he don't know how to fix a car. You get a person that knows how to fix a car, don't know nothing about stocks in Wall Street. Nobody anymore knows everything. Everybody, there would be so much knowledge that would be lost that, once we ran out of gasoline to run the vehicles that are here, nobody's going to know how to make any new ones, or the parts. Once we run out of parts, eventually we're going to run out of all the supplies we have. Nobody's going to know how to redo those supplies.
Oh, absolutely.
And then their children are going to say, well, I remember Grandpa telling me about the day when they used to have cars and electric lights.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to tell their children about when my great-grandfather used to have cars and electric lights. And eventually, down the road, somebody's going to say, what the hell is a car? What is an electric light? They're not even going to know what they are anymore.
Then they're going to turn into legends.
Exactly. And then it becomes a myth.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a myth. Oh, yeah, once upon a time somebody used to say, oh, yeah, they used to be able to light up the whole country. It happens that way. So I firmly believe that all of our myths came from something that really happened. And as the stories got told, maybe people embellished them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they weren't quite as phenomenal as the myths we have today. But, I think that all of them started with some fact, and I think Atlantis did exist. I think it was probably very well advanced, and, possibly greed and power went to their heads.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and it can't happen. They thought it couldn't happen to them. They would never fall. We had the perfect society. Well, they fell.
Yeah. If you go by the book of Enoch and the book of Jasher, which for some strange reason were not included in the Bible, they do have 2 points that are both common with each other. Is that the society, at least during Noah's time, was messing with crossing species.
Uh-huh.
And maybe that's why that Old Testament scripture is about that. Well, you don't mix your meat or you don't mix synthetic clothes with natural and stuff. Maybe that is symbolic about a time period that, God finally, got mad because of genetic engineering. You're making this chimera here. Maybe centaurs and stuff like that were real.
I think it's pretty hoity-toity of humans to think that we have the right to do these things.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you're a corporation, if you're a big, giant, multinational corporation, for some reason people trust you.
Well, I'm a full believer of just because you can doesn't mean you should.
No.
And when it comes to messing with nature, it's if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Our corn was just fine the way it was. We don't need GMO corn. We don't need all this genetically altered food. Treat the animals with respect and allow everybody to do their own farming, encourage people to do their own gardens, have your own little chicken coop, have a cow or two for milk if you want that. Encourage people to be more self-sustaining. They're going in the opposite direction. They're making everybody so that we're so dependent on everybody else that nobody can do anything for themselves anymore.
Oh, exactly.
The average person doesn't know how to butcher a cow. They wouldn't know how to where to get the steak, which piece of meat they want to eat, or how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't know how to shear a sheep. They wouldn't know how to turn that wool into something to wear. What are we teaching in our schools? It's nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're teaching how to conform.
Well, they need to be teaching how to be self-sufficient.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if our grid goes down, we're screwed. We're royally screwed. Because nobody knows how to take care of themselves. You've got the few farmers that know, but the average people in the cities, and there's mass amounts. We've got I think 6 million people in the Phoenix area, and I'll bet you that probably 5 million of them wouldn't have a clue how to grow a garden, how to butcher a cow, how to go out and find something to survive on. The Native Americans, they got it. They got it. They would know how to do it. And that's where all the rest of us white people are going to be going. We're going to be running to the tribes saying, help me, help me. Yeah, the same people that we screwed over when we got here.
It'd be the ultimate irony.
It would be, and I almost don't doubt that it's going to come to that.
Well,
this is their land. The white people unrightfully came here and elbowed them right out of the way and told them how to live. We should have listened to them and been living the way they were living. They didn't have crime. There was no possession. You didn't own that knife. So nobody needed to steal it from you because anybody that wanted to borrow it could borrow it.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing we could look at is you talk about self-sufficiency. You look at Ukraine today, and most of the farms in Ukraine are small. After communism, it kind of got back to the idea of, taking your plots and trying to grow things. But now, with, the whatever government we imposed on them, the United States and EU, they're going to, you got the IMF going in there, and you have the transnational corporations that are involved in agriculture. They're going to be buying up all of that land and doing the same thing they're doing here, everywhere. The United States, third world, everything. Instead of having 1,000 farmers on 1,000 farms, you have, one farmer with employees on one big farm, corporation. And like you said, just a solar flare, one solar flare, that happens. It's pretty common. It's like an earthquake in Los Angeles. It's going to happen
or
eventually.
A meteor.
There's going to be a solar flare, and it's going to knock out the grid. And all those pictures everyone has on Facebook, and all those things that they have on their laptop and their cell phone is going to be erased.
Yep.
And welcome to whatever Noah saw when he got off the boat afterwards. He may have been living in a nice high-rise apartment building, have all the great electronic features that we enjoy today, but when he got off the boat, it was time to start, putting some sticks together.
Yeah, go find some food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go find some food. Go build us a hut. So, gotta have a hut now.
Yeah, we've got 5 minutes left. I want you to tell listening audience exactly what they can learn from, the paganistic lifestyle. I mean, they could be anything. I mean, you mentioned that a person could be a Jewish pagan, a Mormon pagan, a Episcopalian. It seems like it's not just a religion; it's a mindset. What can they learn from this? In reference to getting by in this corporate conformist society that we're evolving into.
Well, wow, that's heavy.
That's real deep in 5 minutes. I know.
Yeah, that is. Paganism. Most of the pagans that I know ideally want to be closer to the land. We prefer to be out in the wilderness with our own farms and be totally self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
There's no better way to get closer to your Creator than to be working with what the Creator created.
Okay.
Instead of what humans create. Instead of all the materialism that's out there and the fancy cars and the coats and the fancy houses and 15 bedrooms and elegant furniture. Did I lose you?
No, I'm listening.
Oh, okay. Instead of all of that, get back into nature, take a walk among the trees and the birds, and breathe the fresh air. Remember what it is again to have an existence outside of all this material stuff that bogs us down all day long. It's very freeing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very freeing, and it'll probably help with the depression. People with depression too. Get back out there in nature. Just take a walk someday, and just go out there and take a look at the trees and the leaves and the intricacy and all of that. And all it took to create that. And then look at what humans are doing. We're just destroying it all.
Mm-hmm.
As if we got someplace else to go. Where are we going to go when we wipe out the Amazon? Where are we going to go when we fracked all the oil out of the earth and it has no blood in it left anymore, and our planet is overheated and we can't grow our fruits and our animals are dying and we're losing the bees? Where are we going to go? This is the most beautiful planet in this universe. You want to go live on Mars? I don't want to go live on Mars.
Yeah.
They're talking about Martian colonies or moon colonies. I don't want to go live on the moon. It's pretty boring and bland and ugly up there.
Yeah, and it'd be like several hundred years before you could what do they call it?
Yeah.
Terraform Mars, to where you'd be able to walk outside and actually enjoy the nature, which would be, the nature there would be
different.
It'd have to be different.
It would be bleak for a long time, and then what they would get there, because they're so much farther away from the sun, they're not going to be as warm as we are. So who knows what exactly can grow in that kind of a climate, even if they could make a climate there. It's an ugly place. Most of the places that I can see, that we have looked at through our telescopes are ugly places. This planet has so much beauty and so much diversity, and even in the people. Why can't we join together and say, this is our home, let's take care of it, and let's take care of each other, because we're all linked together in the long run. When we get back to the other side, and those of us who've been treating each other like a piece of crap, we're going to have some serious issues with ourselves.
We're out of time, but Kelly, thank you so much for being our guest today, and I'd like to thank my listening audience for tuning in.
It was my pleasure to be here.
Okay, well, take care, everyone, and remember, question authority. See you back next